What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael here, and I'm joined by David. David, say hi to the people.
This is definitely not a second take.
But yeah, we're gonna be talking about Mike Perry and his last three fights from Luque on to, is that 3 or 4 fights? 4 fights from Vicente Luque on to his last fight against Tim Means, and it's basically to show that we're concerned. I'm not saying it's an intervention, but, Mike Perry, we the people who love you want you to sit down and really think. Yeah.
It's a love intervention. Oh my goodness, that was hard to say.
Cringy. But yeah. So we start with the Vicente Luque fight, and I know this is a fight that you watched and you enjoyed, David, and yeah, I think this was a very, very interesting fight because this is the fight where Mike Perry really showed how tough he is and how much he can take a shot and how much he can give a shot back. And Vicente Luque ran into a lot of trouble with Mike Perry in this fight where, Vicente Luque, broke Mike Perry's nose, but Mike Perry just did not say die. And in the end, Vicente Luque escaped with a split decision win.
Yeah, Vicente Luque is way more technical than Mike Perry, but if there's one thing that Mike Perry loves, it's the brawl. And if you think you're gonna go in there and break his nose and just walk away with the victory, then you're gonna be sorely mistaken. So I don't know. I remember from that fight, that is a fight that I came away thinking, wow, this guy, like Mike Perry, he can really do something one day. Even though he's picked up a couple of losses, he could do something. But man, since then it's been not
interesting. Yeah, interesting. I think the thing about the Vicente Luque fight that I have to say though is, Mike Perry showed some technical improvements, right? Mike Perry and technician, whenever you put those two together, you probably put isn't in the middle. But, I think in this instance, he really showed, again, he showed development with where to place his kicks. He showed a lot more of a technical crispness that you're not even seeing nowadays, too. Like, you're seeing a regression in his technical crispness, right? And his technical acumen when he strikes.
Do you think that's just because he's just not in shape, though? Like, I'm just looking through the highlights of that Luque fight, and the first thing I can notice is he's light on his feet. This last fight, he was not light on his feet at all.
It's important to bring that up because one of the big criticisms I had with the last fight as opposed to this fight was the feet were too close together in the last fight.
I'm seeing, head movement after swinging. Don't get me wrong, his hooks are still kind of wild, but at the same time, it's set up. You know what I mean? I feel like this last one, he was just like, I'm going to go in there and bang as hard as I can, as opposed to I've been training for this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true because you know what? In the Vicente Luque fight, again, he still had a camp. I think at this point he's with Fusion XL, and he still had a semblance of a camp, right? And it looked like they had a game plan for him. They drilled things, right? And he went in there with a plan to do X, Y, and Z. And it looks like in this one, he looked good. Light on his feet, head movement. He was still a little bit of a loopy puncher. His jab, I've always said he's kind of had a weird jab. It kind of comes in almost like he's slapping, right?
Yeah. But his hook also is a little slappy as well. Yeah. Just weird because he has so much power.
Yeah, which is interesting. But, with Mike Perry in this instance, though, it doesn't telegraph as much because he's setting things up. And I think this is also the perfect opponent for Mike Perry because it is a guy who's willing to brawl and goes to the high guard, which in the UFC, in MMA, it's fine. It's not bad, but I've always said swing and miss is number one in MMA, and you start to see why because you start to get things punched through the guard, like in this Vicente Luque fight. You start to see what happens when you're too stagnant in MMA as opposed to kickboxing and boxing. You could get taken advantage of. So yeah, I think this was a really good fight.
Yeah.
And I think it really showcased what you can do with Mike Perry if Mike Perry's willing to listen and he's training and drilling.
I don't think in this highlight video, I don't think I've seen a kick yet. So there's definitely still, areas of the game that perhaps like needed polishing out at that point. But yeah, no, man, he looks good. His combos are fluid, super powerful. He's literally rattling Luque around. So, man, yeah, it's kind of shocking to watch this performance in contrast to the last one. But I guess we'll talk about some of the other fights in between, like the Jeff Neal loss.
Yeah, the Jeff Neal loss is an aberration. I think Jeff Neal is a really, really, really good fighter. Like, really, 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 really good fighter. And, the thing about Jeff Neal, too, is he hits extremely hard. So against Wonder Boy, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Will Wonder Boy be able to fend off Jeff Neal, or will Jeff Neal blow him out in the water for that fight? But I think Jeff Neal, honestly, not just a powerhouse too, a really technical striker. He hit him with a head kick from like a really tough angle, and then ground and pound, and that was it. So that was, that's what it was.
Yeah. Also, at this point, just looking at the highlights once again, this is why I say highlights. I mean, it's pretty much the entire fight here, because the fight doesn't last too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing I can notice, even by this time, Mike Perry is still kind of light on his feet, but less so. He's a lot more stationary by now. Jeff Neal is definitely lighter on his feet, definitely moving around more, and yeah, Mike Perry can't even reach him. I think he's giving up a lot of height in this fight and a lot of reach in this fight. But
that's the thing about Jeff Neal, is he's just an athlete, though.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's hard to kind of. I would say he regressed. Sorry.
No, I'm just watching the head kick. Well, bam, and oh man, he literally lands it once, and it's just like, okay, let me pepper him a little bit, and the second time I throw it, it's definitely gonna hit him. He must have noticed something in his defense, honestly. Yeah, no, that's a good finish, but at the same time, like, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say it's an aberration. I just think Jeff Neal was better on the day.
Yeah.
And you can give that to fighters. Like, everybody has one of these fights. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad fighter. It just means that you got by a more
by someone good.
Yeah.
I will say though, he definitely did look, from the minute 30 that I did see, there is definitely a regression, but I think I can throw that out to just say Jeff Neal.
No head movement. Agreed. No head movement at this point. Definitely slowing down in terms of like moving his feet, at least in comparison to the Luque fight. Definitely a little bit more stationary. I think he got tired of chasing Neal, honestly. But it's just crazy to say because it's a minute and 30 seconds long. But let me not say he got tired. But yeah,
it's a scary thing when Jeff Neal's across from you.
Fair. It is what it is. Shouts out Jeff Neal.
Right, and then we get to the no corner saga, and this is where you really start to see the regression. So he faces Mickey Gall, and he wins that pretty easily against Mickey Gall, which is kind of sad if you're a Mickey Gall supporter or Mickey Gall himself, because on the feet, like, again, no head movement, feet too close together. Mickey Gall gets the better of him for some exchanges in the open, which is interesting to say. And Mickey Gall also has the height and reach advantage, and Mike Perry this is the issue with Mike Perry, and it's been an issue for his whole career. He can't, for whatever reason, he has trouble getting on the inside of guys to utilize his power without taking 2 or 3 shots to get there. And you saw that.
Yeah. And just to go back to the Luque fight, I think, once again, that was kind of a fight that was tailor-made for him, because Luque is 1 inch taller than him, so it was pretty much, and is a brawler, so he wasn't going to play the Jeff Neal game where he's going to use his length and make you chase him around the cage. It was going to be a fight in close quarters. Just looking at this Mickey Gall fight, man, you're right. Much less head movement, much less. And it's almost like watching the 3 fights back to back, his hands are getting lower and lower and lower each fight. Before, he was kind of doing like a high guard-ish against against Luque. Even in the last fight against Jeff Neal, I mean, at the start of the fight, his hands were high. At least both of them were up. But in this fight, literally his left hand, like the fight starts and his left hand is already lowered. And yeah, by the middle of the fight, like both of his hands are under his chin and he's just walking forward as Mickey Gall is just like firing leg kicks at him. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a
check. I don't think he checked one kick.
But then again, in the Luque fight, he wasn't checking kicks. So he never checks.
I think that was a strategic thing, though, with the Luque fight, because Luque does kind of, when Luque gets pressured, what does he do? He goes to the high guard, and then after, he allows the exchange to be over. So...
My tie.
Yeah. Right? But you know what? I will say, though, like, yeah, maybe it's just a thing he doesn't do, and okay, sure, but I think what's interesting about this fight, though, is that with the Mickey Gall fight, is that Mickey Gall...
Sorry.
Yeah.
He also did this in the Jeff Neal fight. That weak left, lead, round kick. What are you doing? Is that a calf kick? It's not switch kick. It's not a setup or anything. He's just tossing it out there, hoping to catch a leg. And if he does, anyway, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good. I think this fight, even though it was a win, there was a lot of things you could critique in it that you were kind of concerned for. And you know what? Even I will say that interview, I thought he was really going to find a camp after this, because I thought it was just a way to start paying the tax man for the money. And then I'm going to find a camp. I'm going to be better. I'm going to come in great shape, and I'm going to
say he was going to find a camp. No.
Yeah. Right. And I thought he was going to come in with a camp. By the way, Latoya Gonzalez at this point 1-0 in the corner at this point versus Mickey Gall.
Yeah.
Greatest corner woman of all time. Right.
Up until the next fight.
Because the Tim Means fight. First of all, I mean, look.
This is what I really wanted to talk about, and this is why I'm here today, because this has to be one of the, you know how in music you do a rollout for an album, or even a movie, you do a rollout for a movie. This has to be one of the worst fight rollouts I've ever seen in my life following the UFC. Let's not forget, this fight was originally supposed to be against Robbie Lawler. It's so long ago we've forgotten that this was supposed to be a Robbie Lawler fight.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he had come in overweight against Robbie Lawler?
I hope not.
That performance?
I hope not. I really hope not.
I really hope not. It's so disrespectful to a legend. Not that Tim Means isn't a legend, but come on, man.
Man, look, here's the thing. It's not that he missed weight, and you know me and missing weight.
No. You see, I'm usually in the opposite corner for missing weight. But get your point about missing weight, sorry.
Yeah, you know me. I'm usually the Nazi about missing weight because it's a professionalism thing. You signed on for the fight at 170 pounds. Make the weight. But it's not even that. It's not even that really upsets me. It's the fact that he didn't try.
Yeah,
By
for
all
sure.
indications, he didn't try. It's not like he came in at 171 or you know what I'm saying? Because my eyes have been opened a little bit. Injuries happen. Okay, right? It's still unacceptable. It's still unacceptable. You're a professional. But, if he came in at 171.2,
I'm not even going to go with that, Mike. But before that, I need to go back and check. But I think it was about 2 weeks ago, my Chael Sonnen releases a video saying Mike Perry is 7 days away from a fight and is 20 pounds overweight. He tweeted
I think it was 25
out.
or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. He tweeted out saying oh, by the way, I got a fight coming soon and I'm super overweight. Apparently, Tim Means, I think, was it Stefano that said Tim Means said he was
sending him pictures of him eating burgers and
I mean, it's one thing to say, as commentators or whatever we are, to say oh yeah, I hate when people say that person didn't try. But there is no evidence that he was seriously trying to meet this weight.
Yeah.
Especially soon as the Robbie Lawler was taken off the card, I see no evidence that he was seriously trying to make this weight.
I think that's what happened. I think he saw Tim Means and was like, "Oh, easy W," and then
Man, forget that. You know what? The funny thing, and I mean this with no disrespect to Robbie Lawler, who I'll just pull up his record now really, really quickly, so I make sure I'm not misspeaking, but I'm pretty sure he's on a 4-fight losing.
Yeah, I was about to say.
So for me, the way I saw it, and let's discount the Mickey Gall, whatever. The Mickey Gall win. Apart from that, he's also on a 3-fight losing streak, Mike Perry. So I saw it almost as a loser gets out of time fight. So for him to not prepare for that, I mean, I'm not a fighter, so I don't know what it takes to cut weight, but I would at least think you want to be within like 10, 15 pounds striking distance about a week away from the fight. No?
I mean, you see me cut weight. You know it's tough. You know it's tough.
It doesn't seem like the kind of thing you're like, it's not a test. You're not just going to like, okay, I'm going to cram for this test. I'm not going to it all and I'm going to study all of it in the last 24 hours. Like, no, you can't cut all of your weight in the last 24
Yeah, no, you see what I do, right? Like you see how much of like I bring the scale out and like, you know, I'm really like figuring out what to eat and I get in the bath and it's a process. It's not a one thing you do in the last 2 days or 4 days even.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process as you go. It's just you're getting in shape for the first 3 weeks and you lose the weight naturally, and then for the last week you're really starting to slim down. I think I can see a world where it's 15 pounds, but I think after that 15 pounds for the last week, but I think once you get past that, it's just an indication that you weren't doing the right things and now you're cramming, right? And Mike Perry, and simply put, Mike Perry didn't even cram. He didn't try. He did not try. He did not try.
He made it seem like that's what he was gonna do. I don't know why. I don't know whether he was trying to do a bait and switch, but then he misses the weight, and then furthermore comes out and dabs once he misses the weight.
Yeah.
And I would
No, and here's the other thing too. And we made it to 20 minutes before we even talked about this point, but here's the other thing too. Mike Perry looked a little doughy. I hate to do it.
For sure.
He looked a little doughy.
And we have kind of touched upon it, but like I can't believe that not training these other high level athletes day in, day out would mean that you are somehow at the same level. You know what I mean? Like, you used to be part of a gym with high level athletes and you guys train day in, day out. Now that we're in a pandemic, you're not training as much as before. You're just training with your pregnant girlfriend.
Very pregnant girlfriend, by the way.
I mean, like, you're not in the same shape. Like, why would you assume you can get in the same shape on your own? Yeah, man. And I say this with all due respect, but he's never been like a cardio monster. He's always been like an explosive guy. He's a good athlete, but like, man, this was probably the least athletic Mike Perry I've seen, which is concerning because he's not getting like younger. He's still like 29, so
yeah,
he's got time. But like, I don't know, it was a weird performance, and I agree, he did not look in his athletic prime.
Yeah. And then to talk about the fight itself, I think this is the worst thing, at least from a striking perspective, because he gets a hold of Tim Means, and in the first 2 minutes you're thinking, oh my good holy god, he's gonna take Tim Means, who, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, very legit black belt for him, I believe. I want to say I can't remember who the guy is, but I believe it is Jackson Wink, but you know, I could be wrong. You know, Mike Perry gets his back, puts in a rear naked choke that looks tight for about 5 seconds, doesn't get it, and then it was all Tim Means the rest of the way. And it was all Tim Means by exposing the same problems Mike Perry's always had that you thought Mike Perry was going to at least work on in the beginning of his career, and this is why I'm concerned. because it was the same issues. He took advantage of Mike Perry's inability to check a leg kick. He took advantage of Mike Perry's inability to get inside without taking damage. He took advantage of Mike Perry's lack of fundamental defense and fundamental offense, and he took advantage of Mike Perry's lack of footwork. All of those things meant that it was and don't get me wrong, Mike Perry did crack him a couple of times, and Tim Means did get hurt a couple of times, but all that meant that Tim Means came away with a good unanimous decision win. And
I'm watching the highlights again, and man, Tim Means is like backing him into the corner, like double jabbing, like basically sideways back fisting. Poking, prodding, these teeps to the knees, teeps to the stomach. Mike Perry doesn't know what to do. And another concerning part is like it almost looked like Mike Perry's being out-toughed in this fight, which is a weird thing to say. Like usually that's a style, right? Like
I wouldn't say he was out-toughed, but you know what? It is a good point.
No, he's outskilled as well. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. He's definitely being outskilled. For sure, like he's being taught a striking lesson, in my opinion, because the long striking routines are actually really good. But also, like, it's not as if like Tim is even doing a Jeff Neal where I'm going to keep my distance and blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I'm going to jab you coming close and like throwing an elbow. Like, he's getting nasty with it.
Tim Means has always been good with those intercepting elbows too. And I just think what was, and this is the worst part, is that Mike Perry just doesn't know fundamental defense. Like he doesn't know what happens when somebody teaches me. What am I supposed to do?
Tim Means is throwing like a switch leg kick. That's hilarious.
Right? You know what I'm saying? I think Mike Perry is just kind of absorbing it, and being kept at bay, because when you absorb it, you're stopping, right? Yeah. And it allows Tim Means to move. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's out tough. I just simply think that Mike Perry didn't know what to do when Tim Means threw a strike. That's it. Straight up. He didn't know what to do. Which is weird, safe for somebody who's in the UFC. But, it goes to show you how athletic and how much of a diamond in the rough Mike Perry was.
And to be fair, Mike Perry, I take back my out-toughing, because, all I'm trying to say is Tim Means put in a gritty performance.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, it's not as if he's, like, sitting around peppering him, which he is doing, by the way. But he's also, like, getting in close, like, grabbing him, throwing elbows, like, grabbing his wrist. Like, man, he's super...
Yeah, he was a willing brawler.
Man, he's super nasty. And once again, the concerning part is that is Mike Perry's game. Usually, if you were a fighter in this division, you say, do not go brawl with Mike Perry, because that's what he does for a living. He doesn't care about the technical. But... yeah, Tim Perry. Tim Means is dominating both, technically and in terms of just brawling. But also, to his credit, Mike Perry is still in the fight. He does well in that first round, and he's eating lots of shots, like a lot of shots. And he's still there, man. He's not going down. His knees are not buckling, and he's not running away. He's still trying to hit. I don't know how good that is, in terms of like brain damage, but in terms of like heart and courage, definitely has it. So shouts out to him, man.
Yeah. No, he's definitely, that's the thing. Athletic guy, tough guy, but this was, I think, this is one of those things where I'm concerned. I'm very concerned, because the UFC has decided that he's going to stay in the UFC.
Really?
Yeah, they've decided that he's staying in the UFC, and I think it's because he is a name and he is a draw, and people do, like, when Mike Perry is there, I don't look. It might be bad press, but he does bring press.
Man, I think it's getting to the point where it's almost like you have to ask yourself, is the press even worth it? Because he's never going to be a pay-per-view at this point. I mean, like a main event, like, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful or besmirching, but unless he seriously turns it around, like we're not talking about a long extend. We're not talking about a fighter on the up. So really, I don't know, man. I just think some of the news articles that have been coming out, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some more serious crimes and some more serious punishment coming his way. And as a brand, the UFC might want to ask itself if that's what they want to be associated with. But I don't know. Look at John Jones. But he's not John Jones either. Like, you can get away with being kind of a wild man when you're winning and you're top of the division. But if like after this fight, like what is he? He's gonna be like what? A 4-fight losing streak, not counting the Mickey Gall.
Losing 3 of his last 4.
Yeah, not counting the Mickey Gall fight, which once again, I mean, has Mickey Gall fought since then?
No, he has not.
I mean, yeah, it seems, and I don't want to be that guy, and sorry if this comes across too, what's it called, cynical, but it seems like they keep putting him up in like loser gets out of town fights. Well, at least recently with the Mickey Gall and Tim Means fight. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is a good spot to end the video. And we definitely are we're going to put like up maybe a shorter version too, just so for people to really understand. But
15 minutes.
But yeah, I think I think what we'll do, I think the final message I will say though is, as a human being, right, who loves mixed martial arts and sees Mike Perry fight and sees the regression of Mike Perry, I would like someone out of the kindness of their heart to take Mike Perry in, right? And really bring him back, or someone just stop Mike Perry from fighting in general.
Yeah, I think
I'm either one of the two.
I'm with you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I just think I love Mike. I loved Mike Perry. I think he was a breath of fresh air. He's not like media trained. He's just like a rough kind of guy, which I personally appreciated as well. Too many cookie cutter people. But at the same time, there's only so long you can let certain stuff fly, and the cons are getting too many for me personally. So yeah, I think he shouldn't be fighting anytime soon. I love that the UFC is a way for people who maybe would be making money in more illegal ways to make money legally. So I love that, because I can see in another world, we all know a Mike Perry who didn't get the opportunities of fighting in the UFC. Now they're doing something different. But at the same time, like, come on, Mike, you really have to turn your life. You have current cases, like multiple current cases for assault, domestic violence. You really should be on your best behavior, like right now. You're lucky to be earning a living during the pandemic. You have 2 fights during a pandemic where a lot of fighters don't even have one, and you're missing weight for one of them and dabbing. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just something's going on. I'm concerned, and not even from oh, come on, this guy is such a bomb thing. It's more like some of his decisions aren't even rational, but aren't even reasonable. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the video. David, thanks for joining me. And I guess next time we'll trash somebody else.
Yeah. We love you, Mike, man. We love you.
Yeah. Right? David said off air, he was like, Mike Perry's the type of guy who will find you. I was like, yeah.
We love you, Mike. We love you.
Like, sometimes you gotta be tough with people just to explain, like, you want them to succeed. So I want Mike Perry to succeed. I want him to do well. Anyway, like and subscribe, please. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. We have a Twitter now. Like our Facebook page. And until next time, stay safe. There's still a pandemic. So, yeah. Later.
Peace out.